I'm almost certain that nobody else has this movie this high on any movie list that's positive. I could have done a whole video just on this movie just because I think it's one of the most underrated movies I've ever watched. If there's anything you guys should know about me, it's that I love animals. Ever since I was young, I've grown up around them, interacted with them. One of the reasons for that is that I just grew up watching a bunch of animal movies. And today, another episode of, well, that's a first for this channel. I'm doing a tier list ranking all the animal movies that I've seen recently. I've been binging a lot of them with my girlfriend. So let's just get it started. All right, so there are 31 movies here, and we're actually going to be starting from the bottom so we can build up to what my favorite animal movie is. But for now, we're starting with number 31. We're going to go ahead and rename this bottom tier to Cop Propaganda, and that's Zootopia. Now, I actually like this movie. I actually think it's funny, and I enjoy it. But it is cop propaganda, and you know, I gotta stand on business. Now, in all seriousness, I do enjoy this movie. Something else we're gonna see with all these animal movies is that animals are implied to represent a certain kind of people, a certain demographic of people. And if you apply that to this movie, it starts to get a little weird because the movie's it's about the equivalent of a drug epidemic. So, you know, living in America, I when I start to think of this movie in that context, I'm like, who is supposed to be who? And then it gets kind of weird to me. And I know that's probably like a me thing. That's like, that might not even be the intended message or purpose of this movie, but it lingers in the back of my mind and it makes it kind of weird. But I actually do like this movie. I don't think there are any bad movies in any of the ones I'm going to talk about, but yeah, for being cop propaganda, Zootopia is going at the bottom. The next movie I have, Rio 2. It's kind of, you know, it's all right. It's just a nice tale about animal endangerment. All right, the next movie I have is this one actually goes back to my childhood, Chicken Run. If you have not watched Chicken Run, it is a claymation. At first, it starts off with these chickens and they're supposed to be laying eggs, but if the chickens are not laying eggs, then they get slaughtered. And Chicken Run essentially becomes a movie about the chickens trying to escape from the farm. So, which is why it's called Chicken Run. They're on the run. I probably would not recommend it to a lot of people, not because it's bad, just because it's just a little bit strange. Next movie, Ice Age 3, Dawn of the Dinosaurs. Over the Hedge. I have Rio, the first one. Ice Age 2, Ice Age the Meltdown, or is it? I'll put it this way. This tier, I'm not very likely to show this to my children. Like, I wouldn't want this to be one of their formative medias. I'll put it that way. That's really all I got to say about it, though. Oh, the other thing I do want to say real quick about animal movies that I think is hilarious. A lot of these have, like, really stacked voice actor casts where it's like, wait, that's that person? That's that person? And the last one for this tier, which kind of hurts because this is also a movie I grew up with as a child, Bug's Life. I think it's good, and contrary to what I said before, this might actually be something I show my kids. You know, I rewatched it recently, and it like wasn't as entertaining as I remember as a kid, which is really unfortunate. But I still think it's like a funny movie. Like, it's borderline good, decent in this tier list. Lots of lovely moments in this movie. Love the caterpillar. I think Hopper is a sick villain. I always thought he was cool. And, you know, there's just some nice messages about being different and being helpful. So, all right, going into the next tier, starting off with good, I have Sing 2. Sing 2 is simply just not as good as the first Sing. I'm going to take the opportunity with Sing 2 to talk about sequels, because something that a lot of sequels do is that because the first movie was set up to establish characters, give them some character development, see them grow, that kind of thing. So then in the second movie, usually either one of two things happens. One is they just let the characters have more fun Like you already know who the characters are and everything. So they have more time to put them in interesting situations. I think the last thing that some sequels do is further develop or go another layer deeper with a character compared to what you already know about them. I think for this movie, it felt more like the prior type of sequel I mentioned, where it's kind of about the bigger situation. It's about the bigger scheme of things than it was about the characters. I think especially compared to the first one. I also think the music isn't as good, which obviously it's a musical. It's supposed to have really good music. The music's okay. But moving on, another sequel where we'll see its predecessors later on in the tier list. I'm going with Kung Fu Panda 3. Whenever I thought back on this movie, for some reason I never thought of it in like a super great light. Like I never think especially fondly of it or anything. And I never knew why. So I rewatched it, and honestly for the first hour of this hour and a half movie, it was in like the decent tier where it was like, okay, like this is good. There are good moments, but it's nothing special. But then the last 30 minutes where he's teaching all the pandas kung fu, he's becoming what he was unlocking his chi, but it looked like he was like going like sage mode. Like that last 30 minutes, that was great. That was great tier for sure. So I had to put it in the middle. I had to put it in good. One thing I will say though, I love it as just a general movie trope when someone is good at one thing and then they apply it to something else that that would make them just as good at that. Like in this movie, the ribbon dancers using nunchucks, that really strong person giving hugs is like crushing things because he's so strong. That kind of thing, I love that. So that's part of why I loved that. I love the training sequence. But yeah, the last 30 minutes is great. I love the last 30 minutes. It's just the first hour that's nothing crazy to me. Next movie from my childhood, again, Ice Age. This is 100% the best Ice Age. The little baby was a great dynamic between the three of these guys. There's lots of funny moments in it that I can remember. Who knows? Maybe this is up here because of nostalgia. I try not to get nostalgia get too far ahead of me here, but you know, I think this is a good spot. Next movie for this tier, Madagascar 3. Now, when I when I showed my girlfriend my first draft or whatever of this, she was like, "Why is Madagascar 3 so low?" And I think part of me is scarred, subconsciously or not, I don't know. I think part of me is scarred from how many times I saw the damn Afro Circus Afro fucking trailer on Nickelodeon and Disney Channel, Cartoon Network, wherever. I saw that damn zebra so many times that whenever they said it in the movie, I just got like a little bit pissed off. I just got a little bit angry and I was like, not this shit again. So that might be why whenever I try to think of this movie, I'm a little bit like, I don't know how much I liked it, but I do think it's a good movie. I think the Bryan Cranston tiger is hilarious. Whenever I hear Bryan Cranston, it just kills me.
I was once a brave tiger.
But yeah, it was a funny movie. Definitely had its moments, but as you can tell, I don't like it as much as the other Madagascars, but it's a good movie. My next one, and I think is actually pretty underrated, and you know, I don't even have it rated super highly. The next movie I have is Surf's Up. I don't know how many people have actually watched this. I know the TikTok sound went viral, the my ladies.
This is my lady Amy, little Susie, Brianna. You know why we call her Brianna, right?
Shia LaBeouf is the main character. Like, it's incredible. If you are unfortunate enough to have watched one of my first videos about mockumentaries, you know I love mockumentaries, and Surf's Up is actually one of them. It's filmed in a part of it is filmed in a documentary style, like through a camera. I loved it. I thought it was funny. I think the main difference between this tier and the one below it is that it would be pretty easy to convince me to watch all the ones in good and then all the ones in decent except for Bugs Life, because I'm always down for Bugs Life. You'd probably have to convince me, or it'd be like, there's nothing else. Like what do we watch? It's like, all right, like we're watching that. All right, whatever, I'm down. So with Surf's Up, I would always be down to watch Surf's Up. I think Surf's Up is actually funny, really funny. So I have it in good. The next one I have, which I'm honestly kind of conflicted about still, Finding Dory. Because whenever I think about this movie, I think of all the funny moments, like all the best moments. But then I'm like, I'm not sure how I feel about it as a whole. It feels just like a good movie. Like it's just good. Like it's a good family movie. I think for a sequel to a movie like Finding Nemo, they did about as good as they could do. It's a really tough act to follow, but to me it did not have the same magic as Finding Nemo, which makes sense. It came out how many years later? Next up, oh, this one really is from my childhood. Land Before Time. This one is 100% nostalgia talking. I haven't even rewatched this in the past. Well, I don't know. I might have rewatched in the past couple years. But I love dinosaurs. This movie is part of the reason why. I think this is legitimately a good movie. There's a racist Triceratops.
Three horns never play with long necks.
There's a big bad T-Rex that they're trying to run away from. There's dead parents. Like we get a lot in this movie. This is a heavy movie. Like this movie will give you some substance. This might be like one of the first movies I show my children. Like actually, like this is good formative media in my eyes. All right, the next one I have might be kind of controversial because it might be way too low to some people, and I'm sorry. I'm putting Chicken Little right here, and I think it's funny. It's really funny. I like the movie. I think the characters are funny. I just don't know why. It just doesn't like hit for me, you know? Like I've watched it multiple times, but every time I'm thinking, okay, maybe this is the time where it'll be like, okay, like I really, really get it. But like it doesn't do that for me, and I really don't know why, cuz it really is funny and I do like a lot of it. It's just like it's not a movie that I'm running back to rewatch. And I don't know if that's a good metric for this, but just when I think about this movie and then the other movies that are coming up, it's just like I would never watch Chicken Little before some of the ones that I'm going to mention. It just like I said, I can't really give the best reason for it, but I wouldn't put it in the next tier. And I know this is a beloved movie. I just can't. I just don't like it as much as other people do. That's really as good of an explanation as I can give. The next one is definitely biased, and I know people are gonna be mad that it's ahead of Chicken Little, but it is what it is. I'm putting Brother Bear 2. How many people have watched Brother Bear 2? I don't know. How many people have watched Brother Bear 1? I don't know. The big thing with this one is they added a woman. There's a woman in this movie. Let's go. Since most people probably have not watched Brother Bear 2, I'm assuming, I don't know. Real quick, I'm gonna give you the quickest rundown of what this movie's about. There's a woman. She has an amulet she got from her childhood friend, who's the main character, who's now a bear. And she's had this amulet her whole life. She's gonna get married, and then the gods, the spirits of nature are like, no. Immediate thunderstorm, right as they're getting married. The fucking earth is shattering at their feet. It's cracking. Everyone is split up. And the gods are like, this is not happening. You're not getting married to this man. You already bound to this other guy. So then she has to go find the bear. She has to tell him, hey, we have to break this bond so I can get married. And then that's the movie. And I'm just going to spoil it. I don't know how many people are going to watch it. If you are going to watch it, if that was enough to convince you, please go watch it. I think this is a great movie, regardless. But spoiler alert, the main character bear almost dies. They're thinking about turning him back to a human. Instead, the girl is like, no, I'll turn into a bear. She turns into a bear, and they live happily ever after. Then they get married as bears in the village. That is cinema. I think that the whole premise of this movie is hilarious. I would put it in great, but I'm gonna try to be objective because I know a lot of it's my bias. So I'm gonna put it in good. I'm putting it at the top of good. To the next tier, the great tier. The tier movies where I say, yeah, that's a fucking movie. That's a movie. First one I have is the first Kung Fu Panda. And like I said, stacked cast animal movies. Insane concept. I mean, I know China was like, they made a movie about a panda learning Kung Fu. Why haven't we done that? Like, yeah, how have you not done that? How has America not made a bald eagle enlisting for the army. How have we not done that? And he eats cheeseburgers or some shit. Like, that's the equivalent of what this is. Tai Lung's a great villain. I think that's something that Kung Fu Panda 3 didn't do as well as the other two. I personally don't think his motives or his depth as a villain is as good as the other two. I think that the villains are it's much easier to understand why they became villains compared to Kung Fu Panda 3. Kung Fu Panda 3, the guy was just like, I want power. And that was kind of it. But in these other ones, in 1 and 2, they give you much more backstory on the villain as a person, as a spirit. I don't know, whatever. They give you much more info. Is really what I'm saying. They just give more depth. So, Kung Fu Panda, first one in this tier. Next up, Madagascar 2. This movie's really funny. Shout out to David Schwimmer as the fucking giraffe. That shit is insane. I love the penguins in this movie. There are so many good moments of the penguins in this movie.
Now, about maternity leave.
Maternity leave? You're a male.
I'll just say it. They're my favorite parts of these movies. I think they are so funny. I think when I was a kid, I'd only watched the first Madagascar. If I watched the other ones, I don't remember them. Or I didn't remember them until I watched these recently. But these ones are actually really funny. They have a lot of good jokes. Madagascar movies, I think, are actually really underrated. I think that if people rewatch them now, they would have a greater appreciation for them. And speaking of, the next one, Madagascar. It was the first one. And I think part of that does play into it, where it's like most of the magic comes in the first one. I personally really like getting to know the characters and understanding them. I think to me these are probably interchangeable. They're both really good. They're both really funny. Now the next one, this is the most well done movie as a sequel specifically. It's not the best sequel movie, but it's the best sequel to a movie. Kung Fu Panda 2. And when I first made this tier list, I think I had Kung Fu Panda 1 ahead of Kung Fu Panda 2. But I was like, you know what? I know that the villain in Kung Fu Panda 2 is good. He's great. Let me rewatch it. Let me see if I can get it to click. Like what I said with Chicken Little. Where it's like every time I watch it, I'm like, maybe it'll click. Maybe I'll really get it. It clicked for me for Kung Fu Panda 2. The villain, knowing his backstory, and he gets back home and his parents are just terrified of him. And then he feels wronged by his parents because of what he did. And it's just like, I get it. It's like, I get why he is the way he is. And I think that definitely adds to the movie. When I'm watching him fight, when I'm watching him break down in front of Po and he's like, this isn't supposed to happen. Like, I was supposed to rule China. Po's path of self-discovery and self-acceptance. Seeing those two journeys juxtaposed with each other just made it that much better. And this is, I think, one of the sequels where it really took the depth to another level. It went from Po having to come to accept himself as a dragon warrior, as being special for being himself, to understanding where he came from. Understanding what makes him him. I think the way Kung Fu Panda 2 did it, it really felt like Po was fighting his inner demons. And we've all been there. Seeing him do what Shen couldn't do, it was just really well done to me. And I think it's a really good movie. And of course it's funny. It's always going to be funny. The only reason it's not the highest sequel in general, because I think Happy Feet is I think Happy Feet 2 is a great movie. I don't know if people have watched this. I know Happy Feet, probably a lot of people. Happy Feet 2, the music is good. I like how they introduced a bunch of new animals and stuff like that. Love that. There's something about this movie and Happy Feet that's just like, it really hits. It's like, I get it. Like the first time I watch it, it's like, I get it. The shrimp, the krill, those guys are hilarious. Loved them.
How far to the face? Just ahead.
The animals are sometimes representative of certain demographics of people, or it's implied. Sometimes it's a lot more explicit in both of these movies, Happy Feet and Happy Feet 2. Pretty clear what Robin Williams his group of penguins, what they're supposed to be.
Over here, mama, chicky baby. Hey, baby, girl, girl.
What are you looking at? You looking at me?
Come over here, baby. Come on, mommy.
All of the elephant seals have the same accent.
Outside, now! We are outside.
I don't know why. I love it. I think it's hilarious. I mean, I could be in the minority on that, but I think it's funny. That's why I have Happy Feet 2 so high. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend it. And we get Robin Williams, so, you know. I love that movie. All right, these next movies, these are kind of just like the timeless classics, as you can see. But these are the movies that are kind of like, in my opinion, they're pretty indisputable as like really good movies. These are the ones that everyone knows. Pretty much the Disney movies. Princess and the Frog, Lion King, Ratatouille, Finding Nemo. I don't even think I need to talk about these. Like, it's... If you haven't watched any of these, or one of these, just go watch it. Like, it's... These are all great movies. These all deserve their own flowers. I think this is like a general order of how much I like each movie, of like my own personal ranking, so do with that what you will. We've entered the most biased part of the list. These are my goats. I have almost entirely thrown out objectivity. Not entirely, because I legitimately do think these are just straight up good movies, but these are my favorite. These are my personal top 5 favorite animal movies. And you're just gonna have to live with it. Like, you're not gonna talk me out of any of these movies. Like, this is just, these are my, these are the ones that I'm 100% showing to my kids. I'm watching them multiple times on my own, with family, with my girlfriend, wherever else I can I can make an excuse to watch it. These are my movies. The first one, which I don't know how many people have seen it. This movie is so goddamn funny. Penguins of Madagascar. I can't describe like the pleasant surprise I had rewatching all the Madagascar movies and then learning that there was a movie specifically for the penguins, who were my favorite part of the Madagascar movies. And this one delivered.
Where's the sound?
Dave, your microphone is not
On the button with the picture of the microphone.
Every time a Billy calls in, this happens.
Hello? Hello?
Now we can hear you, but
It's mostly about Private's journey of becoming, you know, acknowledged as a helpful member of the group. It's the funniest movie out of all the Madagascars to me, and I don't think it's close.
I see you've met my old zoo mates.
we were never mates. There was no mating.
I really don't even have anything else to say. I think this movie is just hilarious. I think the penguins are hilarious. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, find a way to watch it. I think it's on Paramount Plus. Next movie, Happy Feet. The original. This movie's fucking awesome. Everything about this movie is awesome. There's a really interesting dynamic in this movie. At the beginning, because, you know, Mumble, it's called Happy Feet. He's got happy feet. He likes to dance. The norm is for penguins to sing in this universe. So when he's dancing instead of singing, everybody looks at him weird. Everyone's like, "What's wrong with him? Why's he doing that?" And then his dad's like, just, you know, he'll grow out of it, that kind of thing. And the way they talk about it, his behavior and the language, it felt like they were talking about somebody on the spectrum. Like, that's what that was supposed to be analogous to. Or like the way he acts is different. He's weird. He's standing out. Like, he's just like, he hasn't figured it out. Like, he'll, you know, like he's just, it's like a phase almost. And then the movie continues, and then it starts to feel a little more like religious. Like the penguins are run by the church type of thing. That's what it feels like. And then it sounds like they're outcasting Mumble, the main penguin, for being like gay or something. It's not like his lifestyle choices are weird. Like, it's really interesting. And I've watched this so many times. I still haven't fully figured out if there's even supposed to be a message, a human message of like Mumble's behavior is representative of these people in in real life. Because like I said, they got ethnic penguins, bro. These penguins are not the same demographic. Like, it's very clear. So I wouldn't be surprised if Mumble's behavior is supposed to have a deeper meaning. I haven't looked at interviews or anything. I don't know if this has been brought up anywhere. But man, I love this movie. I think it's a great movie. And the next movie I have And this is definitely a shocker. I'm almost certain that nobody else has this movie this high on any movie list that's positive. My third favorite animal movie is Sing. It really is. It really is. Let me tell you why. I don't think this movie missed at all in any pillar or aspect of cinema. Obviously, it's a musical. I like the songs they used, and the people they picked can actually sing. Perfect. You did it. Good job. These people could sing. We love that. Stacked cast, I keep mentioning it, but goddamn, these animal movies and their stacked casts, bro. They are creating cinema. Let's talk about the characters. Matthew McConaughey as a koala, Tori Kelly elephant, Taron Egerton gorilla, Reese Witherspoon pig, Scarlett Johansson porcupine. Oh, and Seth MacFarlane rat. You can't tell me they weren't in their fucking bag making this movie. This movie does so many little things so well. I love it. And another thing, I'm talking about the music they chose. Like I said with all the sequels, the first movie, the original movie, is supposed to be about learning the characters, understanding who the characters are, their backgrounds, their motivations, getting an understanding of who they are. This movie does it so well for all 6 characters I mentioned. All the main 6, you get such a good understanding of who each of them are. The payoff is so good. When you get to the final song for each member of that main cast, besides Matthew McConaughey's koala, he's not a singer. He's running the show. But when you get to that final song for each member, and the songs they choose are perfect send-offs, perfect conclusions to their journey of self-discovery and development throughout the movie, it is so good. I am almost just like begging people to watch this, give it a fair shot. Yes, it's animals, animated animals singing covers of songs. Okay? I get it. It can be goofy to some people, but just go in with an open mind. The one example I'll give, Taron Egerton's character, the gorilla, Johnny the gorilla. Johnny's family is a group of British gorillas that are like, they're crime lords or whatever. They do robberies. That's how they make a living. They're criminals. Johnny doesn't want to live that life. Johnny wants to sing. He wants to skateboard. Wants to play piano. His dad goes to jail essentially because Johnny messed up one of the heists. He was not there to be the drive-away guy when he was supposed to be. Johnny's dad, understandably, very disappointed in Johnny. Johnny goes to that final show. He sings "I'm Still Standing." And I know, I've seen people clown because they're like, you're listening to that version, the sing version of that song? Why would you not just play the original? I get it. But man, when they cut between Johnny singing his fucking heart out to Johnny's dad in jail, proud, watching his son, saying, "That's my son." Like, he's doing it. Like, I get it. And then his dad busts out of jail. It's fucking bust out of jail to go talk to his son, to go see his son again, one more time, to apologize before going back to jail. And as he's leaving, as he's dipping away backstage, the shadows of the beams overhead cast on him, and they look like jail bars, cell bars in the jail. Come on. That's cinema. That's cinema, dude. I could have done a whole video just on this movie, just because I think it's one of the most underrated movies I've ever watched. You might call me crazy, because this is, to you this might just be another family movie, but fuck, I love this movie. I do. I really do. So that was my third movie. I'd be thinking, Jacob, what could even follow that? You just yapped for how long about Sing? What's the next movie? Next one I have, and this is 100% completely biased, without a doubt. This is one of the most formative medias of my life, and I'm okay admitting that. Fuck it. It is what it is. And honestly, the only reason it's not number one is because it's not actually an animal movie. It's a dinosaur movie, but it's close enough. It's dinosaur. Raise your hand if you've watched this movie. Go ahead. If you're not my sister, my mom, or my dad, you did not raise your hand, and I know it. Nobody knows what this movie is. Nobody knows. This movie is from 2000. It's a CG movie about dinosaurs trying to find water, trying to find Greenland, trying to find a new habitat. But my God, this movie changed me. Watching this since I was a kid, I loved dinosaurs. I loved animals. I loved all of that because of this movie. I was a dinosaur for Halloween for as long as this costume fit me. From what, 2 to like 6? I mean, I recommend it to all of you because I think it's a great movie. It's awesome. You get to watch dinosaurs fight and shit. And it's a funny movie. There are definitely moments in this that I didn't catch as a kid where I watch it now, I'm like,
I always did like big girls.
what? They said that shit? And there's some pretty, there's some pretty good shots in this movie of just like, that are pretty like daunting. This is 100% bias. It's up this high, like I said, because if it weren't for that movie, none of this would have happened. This whole, for me, I wouldn't have been nearly as invested in all of that. All this other stuff, that dinosaur started it. For that reason, it's still going to be one of my favorite movies ever. For that reason, it's number 2. It's not technically an animal movie. It's a dinosaur movie. No, dinosaurs are animals, but, and I do have Land Before Time. There's a reason I only have 2 dinosaur movies. Because those 2, I think, are just that good. And they deserved a mention in this video. Number 1, the sequel is already here. I already talked about it through the sequel. My favorite animal movie of all time, Brother Bear. Brother Bear. Man, this movie is magic. This movie is everything about animal movies that I love, all in one movie. The animals they chose for this movie are so perfect, and they did the thing where certain animals are representative of certain demographics, and the ones they chose were perfect. The Canadian meese, the mooses.
Stay still, eh?
Hey, you too!
Head down, head down.
Oh, gee, I think he's seen us, ain't now what?
Act like we're not here.
We're not here!
The American rams.
Excuse me?
What do you want? What is that? Who is that?
Just a minute, Bear.
Hey, shut up! No, you shut up!
No, you shut up!
Hey, will you shut up?
No.
Just shut up!
Perfect. Just, they nailed that one. I think about that all the time. And I think out of all of these movies, I think it has my favorite story. The story is so interesting and tragic. There's a bear that is, fighting for its life. It kills the main character's brother. In revenge, the main character seeks out the bear that killed his brother. He kills that bear. After the spirits get angry, turns him into a bear. He meets a little bear. That little bear is missing a mother. And I'm sure you can guess what happened. And the development of the way that Kenai has to come to terms with being a bear, what it means to be a bear, coming to terms with what he did as a human, and now understanding what it means since he's a bear now. Oh, this is also a childhood movie of mine, and I just think everything about it is so good. And this is another movie I could make a whole video about, just because I love it so much, and I have so much to say about it. But god damn it, this video's so long already. Brother Bear is everything. I will watch this movie as often as possible. Whenever I get an excuse to watch this, I'm turning it on. Man, watch this movie, man. I think that's gonna do it. I think I'm gonna leave it there. These are the 31 movies, animal movies I've watched recently, or I've watched so many times that I don't need to rewatch them to know how I feel about them. Let me know which ones should be higher, lower, which ones I should watch next. If you enjoyed, leave a like, hit subscribe. I just cannot stop yapping. If you're okay with that, stay tuned. I'm inevitably going to yap even more. I have 2 podcasts. Yeah, believe that. That's how much I yap. I have a basketball podcast, Hooper Soul. Link to that's in the description. And I have a football podcast, Goat Stack Productions. That is also in the description. You're into either of those sports, click the link, go there, hit subscribe. That's going to do it for this one. Like I said, there's one you want me to watch. There's one you think I should watch. Let me know. I hope I'll be seeing you again soon. Thank you again. And until next time, peace out.